When the World Wide Web came along, it changed the way we viewed the world and each other drastically. It created a brand new way of living and communicating. It changed businesses, relationships, to giving us the ability to know information from 1,000 miles away in a snap of a finger. In comes the next generation of self-knowing. In comes the internet of human beings. Cosmic Human Design is your blueprint, a unique fingerprint you were born with. Journey with us as we introduce you to who you truly are and we're always meant to be, your roadmap to success. All right, and welcome to another exciting episode of Cosmic Human Design Podcast. If you're joining us, you are in for a treat because this is the future internet of human beings. This is how we connect. This is how we understand ourselves and our blueprint and who we are deeply in the cosmos. What are we made of? We're made of everything, right? And somewheres, somebody really, really smart made us. Because if you try to make a human being, my God, where do you start and where do you begin and how do you put all that chemistry together? Somebody did that, and there's a blueprint for it. And this is the Cosmic Human Design. We've been putting in the promos about God's design, right? God's blueprint. Richard, you're the Yale graduate genius behind this Cosmic Human Design. Let us in a little bit about God's blueprint. What does that mean?
Yeah, Greg. So I just want to say, this knowledge, the human design knowledge, and the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, which you see in the, human design mandala, and which form, the gates of the body graph, are absolutely God's blueprint. It's like a physics of consciousness that describes the different, not perhaps physical makeup of our bodies, but conscious makeup of our bodies. And I think a lot of us are going to start to realize that, nature, the visible world around us is really, made of consciousness. Everything's made of consciousness. And a good way to see that is looking at our own genetic code that, we're all made of, our own DNA. And the surprising thing you might not know about the genetic code is it actually corresponds absolutely perfectly to the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, which, Cosmic Human Design is based on.
When the World Wide Web.
Hang
on one second. Sorry about that. It changed the way
in the intro again.
The world.
There we go. All right, there's your 64. Technical difficulties there, but yeah, absolutely, Greg. Here we go. You can see the human design mandala, and these 64 hexagrams here. And by the way, a hexagram is one of the gates, and each hexagram is made up of 6 lines. That's why it's called a hexagram, for 6. And if you look at it, you'll see that. All right, first of all, let me just say that each of the 64 hexagrams is, made of either a solid line or broken line, yin and yang. And as the yin and yang, forms different combinations with itself, gradually you build out to the 64 hexagrams. But there's also what are called diagrams, and that's combinations of two lines. There's 4 different possible combinations of yin and yang. You've got yin and yin, or yin plus yang, yang plus yang, etc. Right? Now, the crazy thing is that these lines, these groups of 2 lines each of yin and yang, they they correspond to the DNA bases. If you take any biology courses, you probably heard of, the 4 nucleotide bases, A, T, C, G, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, which in their different combinations make up our DNA. So yeah, you start out with those groups of 2, yin and yang, and then you add more yin and yang, and you get what are called the trigrams. And the 64 hexagrams are made up of different combinations of these, 2 trigrams. And that's an exact mirror of the way our DNA is built. DNA is kind of coded by what are called codons, which are an arrangement of 3 of those nucleotide bases, like A, C, T. That would make a codon. Now each of those codons corresponds to a hexagram of the I Ching. and this is absolutely amazing, because it tells us that, at the most basic level, everything we're made out of, our DNA, can be viewed as the combination of these different hexagrams. So literally, this is the blueprint upon which we're based, these 64 hexagrams right here. And through human design, we can, see how these different hexagrams are expressed in us, and the different archetypes of consciousness that they correspond to. In the book, The Cosmic I Ching, which I talk about a lot, it refers to these 64 hexagrams as the cosmic principles of harmony. So literally, every person alive is built from a different combination of DNA, right? Which is a different combination of these hexagrams. It's just absolutely fascinating, and there's no other knowledge like this. There's that goes so deeply, that gets to the core of who we really are, and by realizing this, we can start to understand that, how powerful our consciousness really is. And this is basically telling us there's a code inside of us that we can unlock through consciousness, which can then transform us and transform our lives, everything about our lives. And a good example is looking at the gene keys. Now, we haven't talked a lot about the gene keys yet on the show, which, by the way, there's a gene keys chart you can get on the website, www.cosmichumandesign.com, where you can calculate a gene keys chart. It's also called the Golden Path, and it's created by Richard Rudd, who actually first started out in human design as well, and then he had his own revelation of the gene keys, and kind of put his own spin on it. And basically, the gene keys, what they are the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, but divided into 3 different words for each different hexagram. So, for example, you have the shadow, which is the shadow field of consciousness. Things like intolerance, things like control, things like anxiety and turbulence, and all these different shadow emotions that are flowing through the world today. And it shows us that we can actually get out of the shadow and into the gift, which is a higher state of consciousness, and then eventually to the city, which is the highest state of consciousness. So the gene keys are, I believe, a critical part of this overall knowledge. All of this knowledge, human design, the gene keys, they all come back to these 64 hexagrams, which form the basis of our DNA. So literally, by studying these systems, by looking at these charts, we can start to see how our own shadow states can be transformed into higher states of consciousness, and that the material world will kind of mirror and reflect our state of consciousness that we're putting out there, that our DNA is putting out there. And that's one thing our DNA is always doing. It's always listening. Our DNA is always listening to the thoughts we're putting out, to the energy we're putting out. And if it really is true that, you know, if you put out good thoughts and good vibrations, then your DNA is going to feel that and kind of create this better reality than what you're in right now. But that's the thing in today's world, you know, it's so hard to get people to realize that they do have this power inside that they can get in touch with, you know, their own consciousness, their own inner truth, and start to transform all these shadow patterns in our lives. So yes, I would definitely call this this knowledge, you know, the blueprint of the cosmos, the blueprint of God. Jarin, what do you have to say about?
Well, I just,
God's
you know,
blueprint?
I'm sure there's many out there that, you know, have been exposed to human design and the gene keys for a long time. I mean, I have personally for over 10 years, and the systems are incredibly flawless and insane. But it does no good if you have the wrong information and you have the wrong chart. And to me, we've spoken of this before. This is largely where the quarantine of the earth has come. You know, we are in inaccurate time. We are in an inaccurate representation, perception of who we think we're supposed to be. And we're trying to be someone else that we are not. And so now getting this pure and getting this correct to who we really are, this is the whole point, is simply for us to have confidence to be ourselves, you know, to be in touch with ourself, our God self inside of us that's made us, you know. And so it's supremely special to be here at this time, whether you want to call it, you know, it's a natural human progression and we're finding out new things about ourselves and where we are wrong, and we're having this uplifting consciousness. And you also want to throw in that variable where, you know, other beings wanted to suppress us and repress us and keep us down. So we, you know, we had these, you know, misinformed information and conditioning systems. You know, to me, it's a mix of both. All that is present to where now we're shining a light on what the truth is and who you really are. And I think when we look at God's blueprint, you know, you can look at it two ways. You know, one way is you can say, this is how the universe made me. You know, this is how something made me. And on the other hand, you can say that this is how you made you. You know, this is how you planned your character to be. You know, if you think of a video game and you know, it's a representation of all experience, you know, perception of consciousness, especially in a physical vehicle, in this physical 3D world we have been in prior to now. You know, it's like you're the director and the actor, you know, if equate it to a movie. You know, most people do not realize they're the director as well. You're not just acting, you're a director, and vice versa. Some people that want to just be spiritual and just think they're going to direct it, but they're not going to have to live it. We're the actor and the director. And if you want to call producer God, or producer a higher court above us that said, yep, you can do this, we'd love to have you go here now. Do you want to? Yes, I do. Okay, good. And then we're going to work together to program you. So here's your character. Now go in and be it, and realize that you can program as you're going, but you have this basis of skills and desires and innate feelings and purpose and karma to work through. And here it is. And then there is a natural progression of that, of, like Richard mentioned, of the shadow of the gene keys into the gift and into the enlightened state. You know, there's a potential in you that you can be in, you know, the low or the high, and there's a natural progression of growth in that. And then there's the trying to play a different piece that you're not, which is what we've been doing, and what people that have known human design and gene keys and tropical astrology, and, you know, I'm here to tell the truth in that heresy, it's not correct. So you're trying to play a character that you're not. So you're going to be in all kinds of shadows because it's not even who you are. And you're working through things that aren't even your own. You're trying to work through things of someone else's projection and society's projection of who you're supposed to be. And I just want to finish with this, is even if you're unaware of human design, gene keys, astrology, and we could go on, it plays out in our lives regardless, especially subconsciously. And us as feminine beings, as much as we are masculine, are feeling the energy of control and conditioning and of peer pressure. So it doesn't, you know, you don't even have to be aware of that stuff or follow it for us to be a little bit off. And I think it's more than a little bit off, but let's just say a little bit off. And this is guiding us into actually being who we are in harmony with the cosmos. And you get to play your character now as director and actor, how we're supposed to be playing. And you're going to watch superhuman abilities come about in a quantum fashion. And you'll move through the shadows much easier, or at least quicker, They still may be difficult, but at least you'll be able to move through them, as opposed to trying to play someone else's character, being completely lost and not even realizing that you're not living to your full potential because you're trying to be something else. And so this is all putting this together so that you can live God's blueprint that you created for yourself, and God created, or the universe, or some energy with some kind of intelligence somehow, as Greg said, made your body to be what this, map is telling you, from the energy behind the matter, the energy that actually can create matter and can create life.
Yeah, Jarin. And I just wanted to say, when I first discovered human design and the gene keys, and kind of grasped the scope of this knowledge and what it could do for people, I was kind of surprised to find that not more people had heard of human design and the gene keys. For example, I checked out the official human design YouTube channel and saw that, and this was about a year or two ago, that it only had 10,000, 15,000 subscribers. It's just one indicator. And I was like, what? No way. Everyone should have known about this, or should know about this by now, if it really is, what it says. Well, the problem was it wasn't exactly what it said it was, because it was using the wrong astrology. And I think as this, cosmic human design becomes more known about, and it becomes more widely known what exactly tropical astrology has been doing, and that is kind of misrepresenting the positions of planets in the sky, which is how your chart is derived, from the position of the planets. If that's not correct, then you're not going to get your correct chart, and it's not going to really be your blueprint that you're following. And so you're not going to have a lot of the success that you would expect from this knowledge. And I think that's something you can see if you look at the cosmic human design chart. A ton of people have testified to that, it kind of just jumps out at you right away, something deep inside that, hey, this really is me, and you can feel that with the instant resonance that the original human design chart never quite produced. Not in myself, certainly. And it's funny, out of all the followers of human design, I never really hear anyone talk about how it instantly just grabbed them. They could just instantly see that it was them. There's this whole thing in the human design community, the 7-year thing, where you need to be with it at least 7 years, before all the deconditioning is complete, and you can actually, start living that chart all the time, But I just think that's perhaps because it doesn't quite work, because again, the astrology is off. So I think, this simple change in astrology that's used to calculate the chart is going to have huge ramifications for people, in that now, and for this knowledge as a whole, because now people can actually see its huge potential, that it is this universal cosmic blueprint for ourselves and our consciousness.
Yeah, very good stuff, guys. When it comes to this stuff, I was very fortunate because I was one of the rare ones that kept my design. Now, other things changed behind the scenes, but I still
kept your type.
I'm sorry, type. Yeah. I maintained my projector. And so it was a little bit easier transition for me as we moved into this cosmic human design. So that was really good. But I just want to say we do have a live chat. The best place is to go to YouTube, where we are. I have the link up there. And that's the best place to chat with us. If you have questions, comments, whatever, feel free to write in. The second thing is, I just wanted to do a quick little intro for everybody. JARIN KENYON worked with human design for over 10 years, right? A lot of people, if you guys know the movie The Secret, the book The Secret, worked with a lot of guys from that. So JARIN's really diverse in human design, coached people, lots and lots of people in it. And then him and Richard started working together. Richard was a client of his. And JARIN brought up the fact of the astrology not quite matching, but JARIN didn't want to really face that truth, right, JARIN? And then Richard took it and ran with it and figured it out. And once he showed you the formula and the results, you said, wow, I think this is it. I think this is the actual design here. So really amazing story there.
Yeah, just to go into that, I mean, for several years I've wanted it to happen, and I put out it intentionally. And I truly believed that I was going to come about it, you know, and I knew it wasn't me that's going to do it. You know, my job, in my view, was to intentionally plan it and to live as much as I could to help it happen and want to see it happen. And I was just blessed to come across Richard because he has the ability to do it. He had the interest to do it. He had the passion to do it. And by God, he did it. And it's amazing because very few people could have done this in the way that it's done, whether you have it connected to it or not yet. I just imagine a few years from now where it's going to be with this. But, you know, and bringing that up, I think we should, you know, talk, you know, we should share some stories about people that have, you know, witnessed
we got some testimonies here.
Success in their life. Yeah,
absolutely. So let me bring up some testimonies on the screen here, and we'll go into those and talk a little bit about what happened when people found these charts here. So let's take a look here. Why is that not as big as it was?
By the way, I love the Sage Kenyon said that this shows us who we are as our own quantum computer. And
yeah,
that's exactly it.
All right, let me crop this in for just a second. But Richard, we're going to get into some of the testimonies that you received from the Cosmic Human Design here.
Yeah, Greg, you know, I could have picked hundreds of testimonials from people who have found kind of an insane resonance with the new Cosmic Human Design chart, you know, after I kind of got the formula right for how the you know, true sidereal astrology would work. And ultimately, you know, I know a lot of people have been asking me to you know, perhaps asking for some proof or you know, definite evidence of why this is correct. Well, in my mind, you know, the ultimate proof really is in how it makes people feel and how you know, individual people have responded to it. And here we can see you know, some quotes from some of the people's charts I did quite early on in this process. And they gave me permission to share their kind of take on it here. So the first quote we have is from B.B. Buchanan. And she says, "Your chart is spot on, amazing. I'm lost for words. I'm blown away by my updated chart. I was so obsessed with it today and felt compelled to dig deeper and educate myself on all of the gates and open channels, etc. I'm definitely here to be myself and not be like anyone else. I've always felt separate from the world and felt I'm here to lead my own unique life, my own way, even though there were lots of trials and errors along the way." So yeah, you know, this kind of sentiment I've run into in a lot of people who really have kind of been woken up by this chart and kind of realized, you know, perhaps for the first time, that how unique they are. And that's a key point here, is that everyone does have a unique personality, a unique purpose. You know, we're not meant to kind of have this this kind of group think, this group mind think that is going on a lot in the world today, and that is encouraged, quite frankly, by a lot of, you know, media outlets and politicians and whatnot. You know, the cosmos meant for you to be your own unique person with unique purpose and destiny. And here, another quote from Barrett Andre. "Since learning about my cosmic design, I feel a deep enthusiasm and joy from deep within. Honestly, I don't understand my reaction. I feel more alive than ever, despite these times of pandemic. You are a real magician, Richard. I don't know about that. I thank life for being on this fractal. Take care." And then he says, "I just finished reading about my specific nodes. I'm flabbergasted. wow, the type and the strategy enlightened me a lot. The profile even more. And at the height, it was the nose that convinced me. So yeah, as we've been discussing throughout these episodes, there are tons of different aspects to human design and what it can tell you. It can tell you about different parts of yourself. And, you know, more people have kind of latched onto, you know, one or another aspects of that. And, you know, it really speaks to them. And then here we go from Jordan Garner. I mean, gosh, Richard, it is such a deep, incredible mirror for the truth of who I am in this lifetime at my highest expression. It takes my breath away. Also, to some degree, my words, though I try to do my best, but I mean, holy hell, seeing the chart was like this huge activation that was incredibly special and deeply, deeply affecting. And no time was needed. It was essentially instant. Though each time I revisit it, it of course seems to lead to even deeper activations. And here we go from like a lot of people have experienced, you know, you don't need 7 years to kind of live your chart or work it into your life as the original human design suggests is necessary. Yeah, well, I don't really believe that. You know, I think that, you know, a realization of who you are should be instant. It should be heartfelt right away, because that's how you really know, right? Is if it's in your heart. It's not a mechanical kind of abstraction where you have to work in different pieces or figure things out or, you know, do any kind of work, you know, which is, you know, as the Cosmic I Ching says, you know, the realization of your true self is more of a taking away of false mental programs and false ideas and beliefs than it is adding anything new, because, you know, the cosmos designed us perfectly from the beginning and with the perfect inner program of consciousness to live our lives successfully. You know, so, and you can see that in some of these quotes.
For me, I'd like to just take two takes on this. My experience, I've probably switched 30 or 40 people over. So I've been working with my clients exclusively on cosmic human design now. And here's the thing. With new clients that know nothing about human design whatsoever, so they were not preconditioned to the past, every single one has had this aha moment and this epiphany, like, how do you know this about me? And every single thing resonates, like, in their heart and in their soul, and they get goosebumps, and so do I. That's on a pure state of new. Now, the old clients, we're conditioned more because we've been in the old design. For the most part, those that are open-minded said, finally, this is it. This other one wasn't me. I get it now. This makes sense. I'm in. Now, some that are more attached to the other one, attached to the identity, and do not want to let go of, you know, really a false makeup of math, but feel attached to that, that's a different situation, which I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people that, you know, have been around human design for a while. Now, that leads to me personally, again, in that, you know, what I've found by seeing myself now versus many years of programming my old design is not only that this is me and I'm like, wow, everything is there and I could go through all kinds of parts and I don't even begin to understand as much as I will or need to. But as of right now, I can say, my God, this is me. And what I look at, and this is not to put anything down because it's all part of the process of learning, but I was happier and more successful and more me before I ever came across human design with the other information that wasn't me. And when I look back at some elements of my life from prior, I was like, it's because I was living this way. I was living this way. And then I tried to fit into a box that wasn't me. Now, obviously, there's pros and cons, goods and bads. There's learning along the way. But for the most part, it conditioned me to be something that I'm not. So I actually found it to be more detrimental than it was positive. I'm thankful for the experience, but now it's kind of like rewired me back to, wow, this is who I was before I came across this, but now I actually can see the map to actually be able to accentuate myself. So I'll be far greater than I was before. And what it simply showed me is that it's ego versus the real me. And that other way can work to an extent if you believe in anything, but it's much harder. It takes much more time. And it really satisfies either an egoic agenda with you or this egoic agenda where you think you're supposed to be to other people what it says you are. So all around the board, it's been 98% success rate, other than some of those people that are really keen on design and haven't yet really quite understood and believe that this sidereal astrology that we've used is true, which I believe they will.
Yeah. What's going to happen with people who have studied human design for many years and built businesses around it and everything else around their own design, right? There's a lot of pages out there that are strictly for projector or whatever. And what's going to happen is you have this identity protective cognition, right? And it's going to protect their self-identity. They're going to be upset about this because they've built a little bit of a life around this old system. So, more power to you. If you can, just try it. Just give it a try. Do the chart. It's for free. See what you are and see if it matches you better. Live it for a couple of days and see how you feel. It might instantly resonate with you. And that could really, like you said, Jarin felt like he was swimming upstream his entire life as he thought he was a certain way. And then as he walked into this cosmic human design, he was like, oh my God, what a relief. Everything kind of matches. And your mother had a similar experience, Jarin, where she was
Absolutely.
a completely different design. And she kept on trying to force herself to be a certain way. This wasn't working. So stuff's very important.
Yeah, Greg, and I want to add that, your mind might try to tell you otherwise, but there truly is no downside to, living as your true self versus, an image of yourself, which is what the ego likes to build on, are, self-images of who you should be and what you should do. But you'll feel a certain resistance from the cosmos on pursuing, any other path than that of your true self's, natural path. Like the 10th Gene Key says, the gift of naturalness, being what you are naturally, is the path of the least or no resistance, and is the path of success in every possible way for you. So I would say, and we're not saying that, any of the human design knowledge is necessarily false, or the relationships that are, given in human design, like the type, authority, the channels, all this stuff on the body graph, I do believe that all is accurate. But it's all just a bit skewed, which leads you in a skewed direction in life. And kind of, you might think that path is correct, and have all these reasons for it. But, deep down inside, and that's what people have kind of realized with this new chart, the path that feels correct deep inside, brings all of these advantages to it. Every type of success you can imagine. So if you're struggling with that, with which chart is true, I would say, as long as you are sincerely seeking to understand yourself, your true self, that will guide you to the, right
Yep.
chart, the right place for you.
And it starts with your food, your water, and your oxygen. So Greg knows he's a 1-3 splenic projector now. His profile changed, but his splenic projector didn't, which is rare. It's rare to not change either one. But he didn't. So he had it. And I'm bringing this up for two reasons. But one is you don't have to take years to be able to use the basis of this. It will take years to truly go into the depths of the complexities of the colors and tones and all the things that you could go into. But in its root, Greg has acted as a splenic projector. He's kept it and worked with it, and it's effortless. He has other things to add to it, and I'll let Greg speak on it because he was briefly mentioning it earlier. He's had other things to add to it. Of course, we all do. So do I. But in its root of what he's functioning through, and now I'm noticing even more with a 1-3. Maybe he knows it, maybe he doesn't, but I'm seeing himself even more. It's instant. He picks it up and he goes with it, and he's been living like that. And it does. And I know people that have been learning human design for years that still aren't, using one, knowing the food, water, and oxygen, learning their profile, their strategy, and their authority, and making sure they have the basis of that felt and understood and applied. You have to apply it. And then you'll find out all the rest will just start to naturally build, and the natural rhythms of the cosmos will give you information for other steps as you go. But when you're off in strategy and authority, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, we have our 100th episode of the Rise Up Radio Show coming up this Sunday, and I put we're going to be having a promo coming up, a video promo, and it's going to show all the different, over the last 2 years, the different shows that we've had and how it's growing in graphics and video and sound and everything. And it shows the progression, and it's amazing to see my progression as a projector, doing this architect thing, building thing, and just keep on learning and learning and growing and growing. And that was basically when I started to learn what my design was. When I first met JARIN and we started the Rise Up Radio Show, basically. We converted over the name and went with that. And so it shows the progression, and it's amazing stuff. And I just went with it. It was just the basics, just the fundamentals. I don't know the depths of human design or cosmic human design like these two guys do. They're like encyclopedias. But I know enough, and I have a coach, JARIN, who's always with me, helping me along, showing me the ways, and actually putting me in the right spots that I need to be in order to use my design the best way. So that's just amazing stuff right there, to have that as well, those resources. And of course, Richard now is part of our lives, and we're building things together. We're building stuff behind the scenes for Cosmic Human Design. We're doing all kinds of great stuff. So lots of stuff on the horizon, everybody. And this stuff is just going to get better and better and better as the momentum goes into this Cosmic Human Design, and really get people on the right path and really going the right direction. And it's an intuitive thing. Once you know you're where you're supposed to be, you know it. And we already are human beings who are in a society that is constantly programming us, constantly showing us what we're supposed to be doing, what we're not supposed to be doing. Why would you want to be doing this the wrong way too? Right? Let's live free. Let's live ourselves. Let's live our design, and a lot better places we can go. What kind of job works best for us? What kind of relationship, a partner would work best for us? What kind of business partners would work best for us? All these things can be really shine a big light on them using this Cosmic Human Design system. Richard, I pulled up the Golden Path, Cosmic Golden Path. Would you want to go into this? What do you think?
Yeah, Greg, let's show the Golden Path here. And so the Golden Path comes from the Gene Keys. And by the way, you can get your Cosmic Golden Path printed out, shown on the website, cosmichumandesign.com. And basically, this is kind of analogous to what we've done with the Human Design chart. So Gene Keys, uses tropical astrology to calculate the Golden Path. On the Gene Keys, official Gene Keys website, they use tropical astrology, just like Human Design does. So what I've done here is basically the exact same thing. I've used true sidereal astrology to calculate someone's cosmic golden path. And I believe it is just as insightful and informative as looking at your cosmic human design chart. And I do highly recommend looking at the two of them together because they can give you information that the other does not. So for here, for example, in the golden path, we have all these different spheres. And it's called a path because, you start at the top sphere at your life's work. And then, in your consciousness, you kind of go through the other spheres, which represent different areas of your life. And for example, you go down the pathway of challenge to the right there after your life's work. And then you follow it all the way up to your pearl. And these kind of form these spheres, these different areas of your life, of your consciousness, is a way to think about it, as a blueprint of your consciousness right here. They are described by different words, which are the different hexagrams of the I Ching, the 64 hexagrams. The genetic code in a way, like we were talking about earlier, the consciousness code for humans. And, each of these different words has 3 different frequencies, the shadow, gift, and city. So for example, this can tell you, your life's work, for example, is kind of what it says. It's what you're doing with your life. And it's based on your personality sun, which we know from astrology represents your life force expression. It's literally like the sun that is shining through you, that other people most readily notice and can see. And this can also tell you things like your purpose, which is all the way at the bottom, and it's from your unconscious earth. And the earth represents, stability and grounding. And so this is kind of the deepest layer of, your core personality. And these are your 4 prime gifts, actually: your life's work, your challenge, your radiance, and your purpose. And these 4 prime gifts are the same as your human design activation or incarnation cross. Your incarnation cross, which is basically your life purpose, the reason that you incarnated. It's kind of the highest purpose of your life. So this can really give you a lot of information. It also has a more emotional kind of sequence related to your relationships called the Venus sequence, which begins down at purpose, and also tells you about your purpose in relationships, what you're really here to find in relationships, how you interact with others, and the possible shadow states that you might be likely to show towards others, and kind of getting out of those reactive or repressive patterns of thinking and living. And you can see things like your attractor field, which is what you're attracting to you in life, energetically. And things like your core wound, which is your kind of deepest inner difficulty, or something that you're, some kind of shadow pattern that you're most afraid to let go of. And it actually transforms into your vocation. And, your vocation is kind of, your deepest calling in life, what you really want to get out there and do, and what you have the energy for. And it's coded by your unconscious Mars energy. So it's that really dynamic, kind of forceful, passionate energy. And then finally, we've got the Pearl sequence, which is, starts at your vocation and your culture, your life's work, your brand, even how you can brand yourself to others most effectively. And, describes how you can obtain prosperity materially, especially. And you can see in the middle there at the end is your pearl, which is kind of this quantum effect of aligning all these different spheres, correctly, because when you're aligning all these different areas of your life correctly, and that's what this chart is really showing us. It's showing us the relationships between different areas of your life. It's showing us harmony. It's showing us the dynamics of harmony, and how you can relate harmoniously to other people in the world around you and inwardly, and when this is what a lot of the modern world has forgotten, that when you are consciously aligning things, we've forgotten we have this power. We've forgotten that we have the power to consciously, think differently about something than just what is being spewed out by, all these official sources. None of that, like Greg said, all of that tends to be this kind of negative programming in so many ways. And we've forgotten that because we've grown up with it our whole lives. So we don't really know any other reality.
Right.
But what this is showing you, and the real value of this, is how you can get back to natural harmony with the cosmos, which means relating correctly to everything around you and in your life. You know, like you said, Greg, we have freedom, but a lot of people, to be honest with you, are afraid of freedom. They're afraid of inner freedom, because in a way it does force you to be responsible for your own life and your own choices and decisions. And you know, a lot of people have kind of given that power away. They've given over responsibility for themselves to something outside of themselves,
right?
And placed their inner center, you know, in someone else or in some other thing or group. And then the ups and downs of that thing become their own ups and downs. And, you know, they forget themselves.
Yeah. Richard, you nail on the head at the end is you know, as a species, we've given our power away, outside in living versus inside out. And as we've spoken before, that what's in front of you, what you see, what you feel, let alone see, all your senses, is a reflector field. It's not a force that has force upon you. It only has force upon you if you give it that authority, if you give it that power. So I feel like we've been in one of the greatest games that could ever exist across the multiverse, where we decided to forget who we really are. Then we've had a situation where we've been lied to limit us and put us as far away from God or spirit or freedom and expression and abundance that we could be. So we have a few things that we're overcoming. And right now we're rising above all this. And for those of us that are aware of the Pleiadian message, you know, the Bringers of the Dawn book, you know, when you watch that 26-minute video, I had to bring it up. And they talk about this. They talk about, you know, genetics and us ascending and going through challenges that will feel like we're being imprisoned until we bust through it. And we have these maps in front of us. This is it, guys. Human design and gene keys is it. And now that we have it correct with the math, this is it. So your Pleiadian brothers and sisters that you want to pray to all the time, of course, yeah, fine. We're doing that also, but it's right in front of you for you to do your own work. We have the information now. And your authority is inside of you and your connection to all. It is not about other individual entities that have authority over you. It is your connection to all. And you have to be self first. And and in this cosmic golden path, you know, the whole point of the gene keys is to discover the hidden purpose in your DNA, because that's what's driving you. To everything is your purpose. Everything is driving you because you have a plan. You're not chaotically here. You're here, and there's some kind of order to you to play the game as who you are and create as much as you possibly can and transform consciousness and others as much as you possibly can. And our inner purpose and calling is calling us now to do so. And we only can do it from the inside out, you know, following our own inner guidance and our inner manifestation abilities and our ability to simply be confident. And then all the other things that come along with it in the gene keys that I'll talk about, with compassion and love and empathy, you know, and intuition and service and abundance. And we could go on and on and on. They're all archetypes that we're playing out, and we're being called to live higher virtues of those. We're not longer going to live in the shadows. We're going to live in the light, and we're going to have to go through a little bit of a birthing process, which is such as a butterfly coming from the cocoon, you know, from being the caterpillar. Right now, we're just about at that birthing stage, and it hurts for many because all the things that are false are being brought up to be cleared, to be let go of, and to be acted on differently. And thankfully, the universe is doing this for us no matter what. And we have the sovereignty and the freedom to choose the speed at which we want to go. And how free do we want to be in this life now? And this map and the golden path is, and he gives more information on this chart than you normally get for free, trust me. And the way that he's illustrated keywords in that, and we're just at our beginning, is amazing. And stay tuned, because this is a macro picture of what it is. And that's why you get to watch this podcast for free. But if you want to go into the schooling and academy, just know it's coming up soon, where you'll actually get to find out what these things mean and what they mean for you, so that you really can, you know, play the game at the highest and within your own superpower.
You have a superpower right there. And move your camera. Yeah. That's great stuff. And both of you guys are really talking about finding your alpha self in this world and then going for it. And I know that's a shameless plug because I just released a book called Alpha in Command. But if you want to go grab something that's going to teach you how to be alpha in this world and to go after your dreams and your greatness and how to do that and how to not get distracted by the law of distraction all the time, then go pick that book up. But yeah, you guys are amazing with this stuff. This golden path, I kind of have a half understanding about what all this means, and I really want to go deeper into it with Richard at some point with some coaching. But Richard, when I see longer lines and shorter lines on this chart, what is the difference? Is it just spacing, or is everyone's have different lines?
Yeah, so the different paths, a lot of that is the spacing, so that it forms this kind of when you look at it, it's kind of a double tetrahedron picture. Like the you can see a tetrahedron around the pearl there in the center, and also reflected at the bottom, coming together. And this also is reminiscent of the Kabbalah, the tree of life. If you look at the tree of life, these spheres here, they're almost exactly the same. So this is kind of a divine pattern. It's this zigzag pattern, and you can see the zigzags going on. You start your life's work and then go down, and then take a nut and then zigzag again, and that's going on throughout the whole image. And that's really the way the cosmos moves is zigzagged. It doesn't necessarily move straight in straight lines or in squares. You notice how all the different buildings we humans have made are all like squares, and that's reflective of the kind of mechanical thought patterns we've adopted as a race, and all these very limiting beliefs and programs. So that's an interesting little visual representation there.
And if you look at ancient buildings, a lot of ancient ones are shaped much differently with specific roofs that have different shapes to them that could mean a lot of things like free energy and different things. So a lot of stuff going on in ancient history we've forgotten, so to speak. Yeah. So, all right. That's excellent stuff, guys. We got about 6 more minutes here. What do you guys want to get into? What do you think, Richard?
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention one more thing about the gene keys, and that Richard Rudd talks a lot about, and that's the Great Change. The Great Change, which is the time we're living through now. And this truly is like a monumental time in history for the human race, I believe. Because it's going to involve such a quantum leap in our consciousness, and which is going to change all of our society and our patterns of relating and everything. And if you read about the Great Change, it's kind of this transformation, and it's described a lot in the 55th gene key, and it goes from the shadow of victimization to the gift and city of freedom. And here we are talking about freedom again, and how important this concept of freedom really is. Inner freedom, free from false programming and false mental concepts, and realigning with your true self. And, that's why the gene keys are words, because words have a tremendous power and ability to affect our consciousness, which we don't commonly perceive. Energy is in words. Words could be said to be a manifestation of light, of sound. And that has a tremendous effect on our DNA is the words we're using. And that's why the gene keys, are arranged in these triplicate patterns of shadow, gift, and city, because these higher frequency words really do have the ability to positively impact your life. And just contemplating those acidic states can lead to their manifestation in your life. It really is that simple. And this great change, everyone's starting to see its effects in the world with everything that's going on right now and all the crazy pandemic stuff. Don't get discouraged by all that. because like Jarin said, this is kind of a challenge, a challenge for the whole human race to reflect on, to contemplate, and to get rid of the shadow and ultimately emerge into, this higher state of consciousness. But that starts from the inside. It starts from the inside of every person, every individual, coming back into alignment with their true self. And then people can begin to relate harmoniously to other people instead of relating to them from false mental programs that aren't really them. So, yeah, I just wanted to emphasize, the significance, I guess, of this knowledge and its ability to transform people's lives.
Yeah, and the root of what Richard's talking about is we're moving from a mental-based society into being governed first by your feelings. So the 55 is all about your feelings and what feels right, without even going into specifics of what your authority is and what your type is and which gate is active or not. All of us right now, besides following your dreams and being yourself, the other thing that I can offer to everybody is just to start to go with your feelings. Trust in your feelings. I say follow the feelings of the light. Don't go into the denseness of what you think you're supposed to do or what other people want you to do or what seems hard, actually. Follow what feels easy and what feels light, and ultimately have faith that the universe has got your back and that it's all going to work out. And we're all being nudged to that. We're being nudged to get out of the fear-based mind part of the brain. I shouldn't say brain, but the fear-based part of the brain, and into following our inner standing and our feelings and going forward. And we are the ones building the new earth. It's not just being built for us. We are building that by having the courage and the faith to follow our own blueprint, our own feelings, and our own dreams.
Well, what a perfect time to get this cosmic human design on track, huh? Right when all this stuff's going down. And,
absolutely.
And while it looks like destruction in many areas because of the shadow, right? We are behind the scenes building something amazing as human race. And so this is definitely a big part of it. So the quicker you guys get in here and start learning, and then being able to get into the academy, and then, perhaps going out and recruiting people and getting people on board, this stuff, it's the future. It's the future. Great stuff. Yep. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Cosmic Human Design Podcast. We are on every other Wednesday night at 7:30 live. And then, of course, you can catch us pre-recorded or whatever after YouTube puts it back up there. And you can catch any episode. So go back and watch. This is episode number 4. So we got other episodes underneath our belt if you want to go back and watch from the beginning. See what we've been up to. Lots of great episodes in there and a lot of good information. We are building the academy, so that should be fairly soon. And we're going to start off with some fundamental stuff, some great stuff, and then from there on, we're going to build even deeper. So,
yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And if you have any comments, questions, whatever, leave it in YouTube on the comments, and we'll be sure to take a look at it and try to answer your questions for you. And please share this around. Let all your friends know that this is what you're doing. This is what the cool kids are doing.
Yeah, this is big stuff, guys.
Yes.
Big stuff.